Cortisol has become something of a bugbear in the last 10 to 15 years due to its nickname being the stress hormone. It's somewhat wrongly correlated solely with psychological stress. I initially thought that this was due to social media doing its misinformation thing, but doing some searching, surprisingly, I didn't find a lot of people framing it as bad per se, but there's a lot of stuff out there creating content around some of its more extreme effects, like hashtag cortisol face on TikTok. I have a vague hypothesis that it has more to do with the amount of headlines around cortisol having stress hormone in their titles, causing this interpretation to kind of stick around. Still, I do get comments from clients and still see comments online about cortisol being something you want to avoid. So I just want to talk briefly about what cortisol is and what it isn't. Cortisol is what's called a glucocorticoid and is produced in the adrenal cortex. It's a form of steroid synthesized from cholesterol. Not only does it help provide fuel for cells by facilitating gluconeogenesis in the liver to create glucose from pyruvate, boosting systemic glucose availability for energy-demanding tissues like muscle tissue. Check the metabolic pathway here. It works as an anti-inflammatory as well. If you've ever gotten a cortisone injection, you're familiar with cortisol as an enzyme found in the liver, fat, and brain tissues can convert cortisone to cortisol and back again. But that's a digression. When your body encounters environmental stresses, whether it be physiological or psychological, cortisol can potentially shoot up, depending on things like the spontaneity and the novelty of the stimuli. If you perform a squat, cortisol goes up. If you're forced to slam on the brakes in traffic, cortisol goes up. When your significant other sends a text saying, "We need to talk," cortisol mans a NASA space shuttle to the moon. Cortisol levels naturally fluctuate throughout the day according to your circadian rhythm, which is why getting good sleep is so imperative to managing your cortisol levels and responds to environmental stressors you encounter throughout the day. Cortisol is not there to cause you any more harm than you're potentially causing to yourself by stressing yourself out over this very useful hormone. It's there to mobilize energy units in the body to help you face potential threats. Those energy units come in the form of glucose and ketones, context dependent, via those metabolic pathways that I mentioned earlier. So if you ever need to run from a bear, deadlift a car, or slap the camera phone from out of an influencer's hands in public, cortisol's there to help. Cortisol is not a toxin. It's not something you should try to cleanse or detox with useless overpriced citrus-infused water sold by health gurus. You'll promptly and hilariously die without cortisol. It's not inherently catabolic. It can be in extreme circumstances such as starvation or if your levels are chronically elevated. Cortisol is not synonymous with stress. Cortisol responds to you getting out of bed, conversations, invite an introvert to a party if you really want to be mean. It responds to fasting, illness, and a whole host of novel things. Cortisol levels don't suggest you're stressed out. Your body's just responding to its environment. It's not synonymous with rounded faces and belly fat, despite what social media influencers will try and tell you. Unless you're suffering from a hormonal disorder like Cushing's syndrome, which leads to chronically elevated cortisol and glucose levels and sees rapid weight gain in places like the abdomen and face. Or if you're a Cowboys fan. Cortisol is not the enemy of sleep or recovery. There's always going to be some cortisol in your system which rises and falls mostly in accordance with your circadian rhythm. The levels will generally be higher in the mornings and taper off closer to bedtime. If you exercise regularly, a healthy individual will have elevated cortisol levels post-exercise every time, and that's a good thing. It's all contextual. Yeah, so cortisol is not something to be afraid of. If you truly have abnormally high cortisol levels that stay flat throughout the day, congratulations. You're dealing with a serious endocrine disorder and you'll hopefully be making a donation to my Patreon sooner rather than later. In the context of fitness, cortisol is essential. Trying to train without cortisol would be like trying to barbell squat on the surface of the moon. Yes, cortisol is related to stress, but stress itself is not inherently bad. Stress is necessary. Just to be slightly philosophical for a moment, stress is a necessary, Nietzschean, life-affirming, existential fact of life. It's how we grow. It's how we build mental and physiological resilience. It's how we expand our tolerance for discomfort and adversity. The key is not stress avoidance, it's the dosage and recovery. Stress that you can recover from is adaptive. Stress that you don't recover from is where problems start. Anyone trying to sell you the idea that all stress or all cortisol elevation should be avoided is engaging in some kind of faux stoic denial of life. In the pursuit of tranquility, they don't become resilient, they become tranquilized, treating normal human physiology like a pathology. As always, it's about nuance and it's about balance. If you want to work with me, hit the description for contact info. I do both fitness and nutrition coaching. The Patreon's down below if you want to support the channel and help me make more content faster later.